Good morning and welcome to another pre-market review session with the Market Trader. My name's Ray, the Market Trader. And before we get started, just to encourage everyone to consider to subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment or two. And if you so desire and want to get maybe a little bit of deeper understanding as to the approach of the Market Trader, consider to become a member. With that, let's go ahead and move into our risk disclosure here, guys. Just kind of want to kind of walk through that the content that is being published and distributed by the Market Trader and its affiliates is to be used treated as general information only. None of the information provided by the company or contained herein is intended as investment advice and offer to buy, sell, recommend, endorse, sponsor any security, company, or fund. We all understand that the use of this information is to be used at your own risk, and the company's partners, representatives, agents, employees, and contractors assume no responsibility or liability for any use or misuse of such information. Future trading does carry a fair amount of risk and is not for every investor. Investor could potentially lose all or more of their investment capital. Only risk capital money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security should be used in trading. Nothing contained herein is a solicitation again to buy, sell futures, options, or forex, and past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right. So now that we've gotten through our risk disclosure, guys, we're going to go ahead and turn our attention over to the news portal and see what news do we have in store today that could potentially impact the markets here. Okay. So taking a look here at the news for today. Okay. So, let's see, 12. Yeah, so I'm expecting a little bit of reports here, but I'm not seeing them. So initial jobless claims, continued jobless claims, existing home sales changes here coming in at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then we have some bond yield information, and then we close out the day with some news. It appears to be right at after the market here of some of our Fed members. But I would say that the biggest one, assuming that it gets published here, I don't see it. It should be already published since we already passed the hour here. But in any case, the biggest one is the initial jobless claims. Okay, so we have that red lightning bolt next to the report here, coming in at 8:30 Eastern time, and then we have continued jobless claims also coming in at 8:30 Eastern time. Okay, so these are the two main ones that I would expect. And then we have the 10 a.m. report coming in for U.S. existing home sales. Those are probably the three main ones that have the potential of impacting the markets. Okay, so something that we need to be aware of as we prepare for the day in trading. All right, so let's go ahead and turn our attention now that we have a feel for the news that could impact us today. We're going to go ahead and turn our attention over to the trading portal itself. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up the trading portal. Okay, and we'll take a look and see what kind of context we can pull from the markets here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off with the gold market. All right, we're going to go ahead and look at the regular mini contract here. Okay, so looking at the regular mini contract here, we're going to look at it on the daily chart. Okay, so daily chart, again, we continue to see a lot in the way of some overlapping price market, continuing to drive higher in this market, right? If we were to ignore maybe these series of candles here, you would say that the market is trying to head higher. Okay, now given this candle here, we still feel I feel that we are still very much in control, or in the watchful eye of sellers here. Okay, so until we break above and make a new high, well, then my feeling is either that we are still maybe there's a little bit of a change in sentiment in the market, right? From a market that's been quite bullish to a market that's been quite bullish to a market that now is maybe in range or even bearish. Okay, we have not made a new low of late. Okay, so that's obviously giving a little bit of hope here for the buyers. But in order to really kind of sustain, or maybe how you say, be consistent with this move to the upside, we need at some point to need to get above this 5,500 level. Otherwise, the feeling is that we'll either remain in range, remain in that range from say 4,480 to 5,500 for a period of time, or we continue this march, that significant push that we had here to the downside. Okay. Morning, Dirk. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-hour chart. Okay. Looking at the 4-hour chart again, we see more of the same, right? So we're starting. There's that swing that we had to the downside, and for now it seems like we're content with a slight bullish channel here that looks more like a retracement than impulsive. Okay, a little bit more of a sideways move than the impulsive move that we got to the downside here. Okay, so again, market appears to be in some sort of range. Okay, and that's I would say that maybe is a little bit more apparent here on the 4-hour chart, given the extra number of candles here. I'm looking at the DMI. The DMI is really not giving me any indication. There's no real indication here that there's any sort of direction in this move. We have a falling ADX, okay, falling ADX, and our positive and negative DI are basically flat. So indicating that there's really not any significant momentum in any direction at the moment in this market. Okay. Looking at the volume delta, well, volume delta also, right? We see some volume, probably a little bit more consistent to the buy side and than the sell side here. Okay, so we're getting more buy market orders than sell market orders here at the moment. If you look at the series of candles here that we've had here since maybe say the new day here. Okay, so indicating that maybe there is maybe a fair amount of buying pressure that we have in this market here at the moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the 30-minute chart. Looking at the 30-minute chart, again, we're going to kind of expand this here a little bit. We're going to go ahead and turn off initial balance here for the moment and just kind of look at just pure price action here and see what we can kind of pull from this market here. Now, one thing that kind of stands out to me right away is that the market seems to be quite receptive in not letting price get below 50.70. Okay, in the recent past here. Okay, so we've been hanging around down at the lows here for a period of time, and we tested this level multiple times. Okay, multiple times, and to be quite frank, it turned out to be, at least based on these last two candles, a very nice area, right, where we can manage our risk and look for maybe a potential opportunity to the upside. Now, we still have some areas above us. Okay, a couple of them I'm going to highlight here. 51.20. Okay, I'm just going to mark this as a resistance zone because we haven't really tested that level all that much, unlike what we've seen here at the bottom end of the range. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this in red, indicating that these are the highs that it needs to get through in order for us to really embrace this kind of move that we're making at the moment here. So we're going to go ahead and color that in red, indicating that's a resistance level. And then we obviously have this level above us. Okay, that's the high of the session here on Wednesday. That is also another level that we should be keeping an eye on. Okay, because often these levels get retested, especially when we are in some sort of range, which it does appear that we are in at the moment. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and turn on our initial balance ranges and just kind of compare what these ranges are. We're going to go ahead and turn on our VWAP here, open up initial balance here for the let's see, we'll start off with the Asia session here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open that up for the Asia. Okay, so my new Asia, I guess, and we're going to go ahead and take a look and see. Let's see. Let me go ahead and extend this line here a little bit. Okay, let's see if we can extend this line here. Okay, so right about here, I'm going to go ahead and extend that line. We're going to make this a solid line rather than a dashed line. Okay, and okay, so there's the top end of the range. Okay, for Asia, right? So once we got above, right? Once we got above this range here, okay, this is actually it's Tuesday. That's a little bit early here. Let's go ahead and move on to back to my normal one here since I'm not exactly understanding what it's doing there. So, all right, here we are. So looking at Asia, okay, so Asia was for the most part in range, right? You see that we've explored, we had price action explore both sides of the range. We had an attempt to get price above the range, only to be received by sellers and drive us right back to this 57, 50, 75 level. Okay. Moving into London, looking at London, London took the market, basically was also in range up until recently. And now we're developing a candle that's looking to extend the range to the upside. Okay. So we have some levels here that seem obviously are very much aligned to what these resistance zones that we've already drawn. This right here would be the 100% extension of the initial balance range. So that seems like a reasonable target for this current move. And then we have the 200% extension, which again overlaps with the high of the day. So the initial balance ranges offer us a nice little extent. Well, the extensions of the initial balance range offers us nice potential targets for this current move, assuming that we can close and remain above the initial balance range. Okay. So last thing we're going to take a look at here is the fixed range volume profile, see where price is in relation to yesterday's price action. And just from just kind of eyeballing this, it does appear that maybe we are just simply in range outside of maybe the most recent price action here. Let's take a look and confirm that. And indeed, that is the case, right? We are inside of the initial balance range, basically the fixed range volume profile from yesterday, indicating that market seems to be quite content, is quite balanced, right? We're getting equal participation on both sides of the market now. Obviously, as day traders, we don't necessarily want to be involved in an area of balance. We want to be in an area where there's out of balance, because if the market is out of balance, that means we either have aggressive buyers or aggressive sellers. Having the market inside a range like this is probably not what we're looking for, right? So we are seeing some evidence that the market maybe wants to carry on higher. We do see that we're getting a price that's beginning to get above this area here. If it closes above this area as well as the initial balance zone, okay, this could offer us maybe an opportunity that would take us maybe back to these highs here that I've marked in red. Okay, so as we head into the session here, guys, I'm going to go with a neutral to bullish, kind of reading here on this market. Okay. I am seeing some evidence for the most part that we are in some sort of range and continue to be in range. I'm looking at these series of candles and the fact that we are making a new high. That's giving maybe a little bit of an indication that maybe we are potentially heading higher here. So that's kind of why I'm giving the neutral to bullish rating here. I think for this market to be sustained to the upside, we still need to get above this 51.19, 51, I guess what's this level here, about 51.17 and a half. We need to get above, we need to be able to close above that level. Again, we're seeing that we are getting a little bit of indication that there is some buying coming into this market. Looking at the DMI, the negative DI is collapsing. The positive DI is increasing in pressure, but the ADX hasn't really followed the path of the positive DI just yet. So the momentum is still not quite there in this market for what appears to be a move here to the upside. Okay, taking a look at the silver market. Okay, silver market. We're going to go ahead and start off with the daily chart. So here we are again, similar kind of view here. A lot in the way of overlapping price candles here. So we're going to remove this draw. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Control Z. We're going to go ahead and remove our drawings here. And you can see both on the DMI indicator below, all right, you can see that the market again, we have a collapsing positive and negative DI here. Okay. And we have a falling ADX. Okay. So what to make of this? Well, right now it appears on the daily chart that the market is in some sort of range, the silver market, okay, based on the daily. We see some price action that indicates that there's really no direction. Volume delta is really not telling us, again, that we are in any sort of direction. Not a whole lot of aggressive buying or selling going on at this moment. Maybe a tad bullish because we're seeing that these bearish, volume delta bars are losing a little bit of steam here of late. Okay, so there may be a little bit of maybe buy side pressure that might be maybe building here on the daily chart. Looking at the 4-hour, we're going to go ahead and turn off our initial balance here for a moment. Just kind of zoom in on these 4-hour candles. Again, if I were just looking at the most recent set of candles here, right, you can see that we're making higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low. Okay, so that's the beginnings of some sort of bullish structure here. Okay, but as we get a little bit more context in this market, well, these higher highs and higher lows are really just inside this bearish swing. So until we can get above this, let's say, I'm going to call it 90, 50 level. If we cannot get above 90, 50, well, then it's a market that appears to be either in range or a market that might head lower here. Okay. So 90, 50 is, I would say, an important level on this chart. Okay. And we'll see, because this is evident. We had evidence at 90, 50 that sellers stepped into this market. And now if you see, just looking at these candles, the candles that have I would say, the biggest punch, okay, are the bearish candles, right? Look at this candle here from 87,675 all the way down to 74 in one 4-hour candle. That's consistent selling going on in this time frame yesterday, okay, during the overnight, okay, from 87 all the way down to 74 in one 4-hour candle here. Okay, so looking at this, the feeling is that the sellers are still very much present in this market. Okay, the magnitude of these candles seem to favor the bears here at the moment. Taking a look at the 30-minute chart. Again, looking at this on a shorter time frame. Okay, so maybe getting a little bit of evidence here of at least of some bullish price action here of late. We see our volume delta also rising in volume in the buy direction. So we're getting some at least short-term indication that maybe some buyers have had to maybe potentially stepped into this market. But the market has been, since the close of yesterday's session, pretty much in some sort of range here. Okay. So what to make of this? Well, if we are going to indeed maybe rally, okay, obviously we need to get above settlement, which was at 84, okay, with some volume. We have some promising volume on the bullish direction here of late. And if we look at this on the DMI, well, we're starting to see some buying pressure, and more importantly, a momentum following the same path here. Okay, momentum. ADX is following the same slope as our positive DI here, with a dropping negative DX indicator, negative DI, I should say. Negative DI is falling. So again, on the shorter time frame, we're starting to see maybe a little bit of evidence here that maybe there is some buying pressure that's coming into this market. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the fixed range volume profile. I think I know the answer to this question. Probably it's going to be pretty consistent to what we saw here in the gold. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start off with this area here and move that all the way to the close. And you can see actually maybe even a slightly more bearish given the fact that we were able to break below this value area low. And we haven't really been able to hold back inside. We've retested this level multiple times, right? So we have, kind of almost the reverse of what we were seeing in the gold here. Honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can find my tool here, and you can see here, right? We retested the highs here multiple times before we kind of sold off here. Now what we're developing is again, so another area. So we are kind of in a very tight range here between let's say 80 on the high side, 84.40 on the low side. Let's call it 82. Okay, very tight range in this market. I see evidence of both, evidence of buying, evidence of selling on both sides. So indicating to me, and again, you can see here on the 9 EMA and the VWAP, price seems to be oscillating in and around that level, right? Sometimes it's above, sometimes below. So again, indicating that we are in some sort of range here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and relax this here a little bit and take a look at the initial balance ranges across the various sessions here and see what kind of initial balance range developed for Asia and London here. So we'll take a look at Asia at the start. Again, pretty much range bound in Asia. We did peak above, but really was not able to sustain above. London came in and pretty much, I think it appears to be, remained in that same sort of range here, right? And even maybe took a peak here to the downside, right? So we got a nice little break to the downside. Now we're back at I would call maybe a relatively important level here, right up at the initial balance low for the London session. So do we accept value again in London, or does the market use this area as an area to maybe potentially continue to the downside? Right now, it feels like the market wants to maybe explore or revisit some of these highs here. If we do get to price to close back inside value, that will, again, the sellers, right, that took this market to the downside are probably not all that strong, to be honest, because if they were, they would not have allowed such a deep retracement here, right? We have a pretty deep retracement of this last swing here, right? Probably if these sellers were strong, that would not have taken place. So that is giving a little bit of an indication that maybe the buying pressure is starting to overwhelm some of the sellers that we've had in this market. Okay. So we're starting to see some indication that price is above a sloping 9 EMA. We are seeing not quite the slope that we're looking for in the VWAP to kind of indicate to us that maybe we've started to restore some bullish price action. So my view is going to be a bit on the neutral side. So I'm going to give it the same rating that I gave to the gold. I'm going to call it neutral to bullish. Okay, more neutral than bullish here at the moment. Need to see a new high. Need to see price get above 83.70 in order for me to begin to start to embrace maybe the bulls here. Okay. Otherwise, there's the thought that maybe we stay in this range. Maybe possibility that we continue to the downside in the most recent swing here. Okay, so again, headed into the session, I'm going to go with a neutral, more neutral to bullish, again based on the more recent price action. That's kind of what I'm indicating. But again, I'm not seeing that the market is wanting to move it into any sort of strong trend here at the moment. Okay, I see a lot of collapsing. I see a lot of collapsing DIs and things of that nature. So we'll have to be patient. We'll have to look at the initial balance range for the U.S. session and see what kind of initial balance we end up establishing in this market. Relatively wide here at the moment. Nice strong bullish candle here on the first 30 minutes. So that's giving us maybe some indication that maybe there is some momentum that's building and developing here on the bullish side. All right. Let's go ahead now and take a look here at the crude oil market. The crude oil market has officially opened here. So we'll take a look here on the daily. I think the crude oil market offer some traders some pretty good short opportunities, to be honest, yesterday. And now looking at the daily chart, you can see similar to what we've been describing in the gold and silver markets. We see a market that seems to be in some sort of range. Okay, market that is in range. A lot of overlapping candles on the daily side. We're seeing a volume delta kind of indicate to us that there's a fair amount of maybe selling pressure that's coming into this market now, not necessarily reacting maybe with the same level of strength, maybe to the downside, but nonetheless, we're already kind of overdue, I would say, for maybe a pretty significant move here in this market. So the fact that we're already kind of past or even close to this apex is kind of indication that maybe the market is quite content in remaining in some sort of range here. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take a look here at the 4-hour chart. Looking at the 4-hour chart with more candles, we're seeing the same, more of the same, a market that appears to be quite content in this range between 66 and 62. Okay. That's kind of the range that I'm seeing here on this market. I'm kind of adjusting my my lines here, this pattern here. I'm seeing evidence of both here. So I'm going to go maybe with this move here. That doesn't seem, I'm gonna pick a halfway point here because I'm seeing not kind of a, I'm gonna go with something like this to try to capture as much of this as I can. But you can see that it is a market that is in some sort of range. Okay, a lot of overlapping candles. Maybe if I had to, kind of err on one side or the other, based on the fact that price is below our VWAP and below our 9 EMA. That's giving me kind of a little bit of indication that maybe there is a little bit more downside here at the moment. Would go ahead and open up my ribbons. My ribbons are telling me that I see that we have my 20 EMA kind of rolling to the downside here. Now we are seeing in this 30-minute chart that we are still above some of these moving averages that we care about. So while we are seeing maybe some evidence of some bearish price action, we still have the 100. The 50, okay, price is still above either of those levels, right? So if I am bullish, well, I could do a lot worse in waiting for price to come back down to 63.70, okay, or maybe as low as 63, right? And that would be kind of consistent with the 50 and the 100, and that could offer me a location where I can maybe entertain a bullish trade, right? Those would be kind of some of the levels. If I'm bearish, well, I'd like to be on the upper end of this market, right? I'd like to be selling strength somewhere in the 65 level. Seems like a logical location for that sort of thing. As price continues to move, there's always the potential of buyers stepping in as we get closer to the lower end of this candle, the line here based on this consolidation pattern that we've drawn. Let's take a look now at I'm going to go ahead and remove the triangle pattern. We're going to remove the moving averages here. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the initial. Well, first we're going to start with a fixed range volume profile. And we're going to drop into the 30-minute chart and see what kind of price action we're getting here of late. Well, on the shorter time frame, well, it's becoming a little bit more obvious here, right? We are seeing some evidence. We had a very strong bearish candle here that happened sometime during the London session to the downside. It does appear that there is a fair amount of bears or fair amount of bearish participation currently in the market. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and confirm that with a fixed range volume profile. We're going to go ahead and start off with the open of the session yesterday, drag that across to the close of the session here, and there you have it, right? You can see that price is below, right below our volume profile, right, that we've drawn here for the yesterday's session. So indicating that there does appear to be a fair amount of pressure here to the downside. But I'm going to be quite honest with you. It doesn't appear to be all that strong, right? We're seeing a lot of wicks on both sides of the candles. And then when we did make an attempt to go lower, well, it looks like that was received with buying, okay? So somebody obviously does not want to see the price of oil continue lower, right? We're seeing some evidence that maybe there are some buyers here, okay? Momentum, looking at the momentum, well, momentum seems to be quite strong. The question is, which direction is it? Is it to the bearish side? Well, price is below it, so I would probably err on the bearish side. I'm not seeing the momentum or the positive DI really slope into the upside. Otherwise, I would say that maybe we are building some pressure here to the upside. Now, looking at the volume delta, well, volume delta has been pretty much neutral for most of the overnight session. We are seeing a slight increase in buying going on, market buys, right, at these levels. But in order really for me to embrace the longs, I need to see price begin to break some structure here to the upside, right? Taking price and just coming into the middle of this range is not giving me any sort of confidence that there's enough buying participation to drive price above VWAP. So VWAP is kind of my line in the sand. My first kind of checkpoint is EMA. Can price get above and close above my 9 EMA? That's going to be my first check. Second check, can price get above VWAP, right? If I can get above my 9, above my VWAP, maybe that gives me an indication that we maybe explore, maybe revisit some of these highs that were printed here in the overnight trading. But honestly, guys, these ranges are quite tight, quite small. And, these swings could make it very difficult to entertain and participate in. So we need to be quite careful. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here on the crude oil. But I would say right now, based on some the structure that I see at this moment in time, even though I'm seeing that maybe that we do see some buyers here kind of nibbling here at the 64 level, that we do still see a market that seems to be on inside some bearish structure here. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the equity markets, the markets that everybody is wanting to understand here a little bit. Again, I'm going to go ahead and encourage those folks. If you have not hit subscribe, if you're new to the channel, I'd encourage you to subscribe so you get notified of these kinds of sessions in the future and any other sessions that maybe come up, and leave a comment or two on the channel itself, letting folks know how this analysis is supporting your review and understanding of the markets. With that said, we'll go ahead and move on to the NASDAQ. Okay, starting out with a NASDAQ on the daily chart. So we did get, I think, a pretty significant move here. It just ended up actually being rather neutral yesterday. Now we've opened above the close of yesterday, so indicating maybe there's a fair amount of interest in taking this market higher, right? So we had a pretty strong bullish engulfing candle here, right? And then we had a couple of days that were inside, and now we have a candle that's opening above, okay, or at or above the open of yesterday. Okay, so that's indicating that maybe there is some interest that's developing in the NASDAQ. Okay, looking at the volume delta, right? Well, volume delta also seems to be aligned with that view. We're getting more volume to the buy side. Our DMI, right? The only thing that we are seeing that we are in a relatively strong move here. Okay, our ADX is above. Our ADX is above our 25 level, right? This is 25. Our ADX is, so the momentum in whatever direction we're in, if the direction is becoming stronger. Okay. Our positive DI still is not sloping in the same direction as our negative, but that still is giving us kind of some indication that maybe there is some buying pressure here, right? We're getting a little bit of a divergence here, right? If this can kind of slope up, that might give us an indication that there is maybe some momentum that's building to the upside in the NAS. Okay, taking a look at the 4-hour chart. Looking at the 4-hour chart again, we're looking at these the positive DI is kind of picking up some steam. ADX on the 4-hour still not giving us what we're kind of looking for here. Lot in the way of overlapping price here that we're seeing in the overnight. So really not any strong directions that I'm seeing on the 4-hour in any sort of direction, right? So ever since Monday here all the way into Wednesday, we've been kind of in this overlap. We've been in some sort of range. Attempts to go to the upside have failed. Attempts to go to the downside have failed. So they seem quite content in remaining inside 25,000, say 150. Okay, and not really wanting to entertain anything above 25,430. Okay, that's kind of what I'm seeing here on the 4-hour chart. Looking at the 30-minute. Okay, we're going to go ahead. Actually, we're going to go ahead and start off with our fixed range volume profile here. Okay, we see that price is above our 9, above our VWAP. Okay, that's giving us kind of a view that maybe the market, at least right now, seems to be a tad bullish. Okay, still haven't been able to hold above 25,450. So unless we make a new high, right, then there's always this possibility that that level could offer, or we could find some sellers stepping back into this market, right? So this level right here, 25,450, that's the last evidence of sellers that we've had in this market. The expectation is this: if this is the first time we come back to this level, that maybe sellers will return. Okay, if we are going to maintain sort of the kind of the bullish structure, I guess, over the recent candles here on the 30-minute, if we are going to continue, we obviously need to make a new high here, right? We need to get above this 25,450 level. Taking a look at the fixed range volume profile. Looking at the fixed range volume profile, it does appear to be a bit neutral. We'll confirm that. Okay, looking at the fixed range volume profile for this, you can see that the market is a tad above value. Okay, so indicating that we do have a set of participants that are willing to pay a little bit of a premium to be part of this market to the upside. Now we can probably, with the open of the U.S. session, if we remain above this value area high that was created, then that's an indication that maybe there's more bullish price action in store for this session. If price manages to close back inside value, well, there's a possibility that we could rotate to some of these lows, maybe as low as 25,230, as low as 25,160. So I would say that this is a relatively important level. If we are going to maintain this kind of bullish posture that we're starting to begin to develop, I would say that remaining above 25,000, or basically value area high at around, I'm just going to call it 25,325, we want to see price remain above. And that's also aligned with where our location of our VWAP is. Okay. All right. Let's take a look here at the initial balance range. I was going to take a look here at the ADR levels to see if we actually reached anything yet. It looks like we have it. Let's see, adjust this here a little bit to make it a little bit more bold. So we're going to go ADR high here, and we'll see if we can make this a tad stronger, because I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is. So we still have some room to the upside here. Okay, based on the ADR, statistically, we can easily get up to 25,600. Okay, on the upside. So there's still more room there to be had there. And then we have the 24,990. So we're in the middle. So we have distance to go in either direction. Okay, statistically. Okay, so right now it seems to be kind of grinding to the upside. Okay, that's what we're seeing. But until we can get above this 25,440 level, I'm always a little bit suspicious, given the strength of some of these moves that we've been getting. Right, we had a very strong move here to the downside as part of the open on Wednesday. Okay, are we headed for something similar? We'll have to wait and see. A lot of this move was news driven, but nonetheless. So we're going to go ahead and based on these set of candles here, I'm not really seeing anything with any sort of I guess sustained move in either direction. Okay, right now the feeling was maybe that we were going to go head lower, but that was short lived. Looks like the buyers have kind of stepped in and now have kind of driven the market higher. So I'm going to go with a neutral rating. Okay, maybe until we can get above this 25,450 level, I'm gonna stick with the bears here. Okay, I see the strength is really coming in on the bearish side, so I'm gonna go with a neutral to bearish kind of rating on this market here. Okay, yeah, I do see some evidence that we are of late getting some buying pressure, but quite frankly, I really need to see price get above this 25,440 level to really to embrace that move. Okay, otherwise I feel like we're in some sort of range here. Okay, so I'm going to go with a neutral to bearish kind of rating until we can get above 25,450, at which point we can reevaluate and maybe decide that maybe I can change my view on this. But I'm not overly impressed with the candles that we're getting to the bullish side. To be honest, the more impressive candles have been to the bearish side. So I'm going to give it a neutral to bearish rating here in the NASDAQ. Okay, taking a look at the ES. Yes, looking at the daily, also looking a lot quite similar to what we've been seeing. We're going to go ahead and turn off our ADR here for a moment. A lot of overlap in price action here of late in the ES, probably making it a little bit difficult to participate in and trade. Okay. Anytime we're in these kind of tight ranges, it makes trading directionally very difficult. Okay. So we see that we are in a fair amount of momentum here to the upside. The positive and negative are kind of neutral, flat. So it's given us that we have some momentum coming in. I don't know exactly which direction that is at this point. I'm seeing a lot in the way of overlapping price. Maybe it's bullish, right? Given the recent engulfing candle that we've gotten here on the daily, as well as price being above our 9 EMA. Maybe it's to the bullish side. But again, similar view that I had with the NASDAQ. I'm not convinced until we can get a close above 7020, 7020. If we can get a close above 7020, maybe I can embrace this view that maybe the market wants to head higher. Okay. Until then, I see price on both sides of my 9 EMA not giving me any sort of indication as to which direction they want to take it, other than what I'm seeing of late. Over the last few days, we have been able to remain above my 9 EMA after a relatively strong bullish candle. So that maybe is giving me some indication that the market wants to continue to the upside. Looking at the 4-hour, same kind of view, more candles, right? We had a nice series of candles here since Friday to the bullish side. Okay, so again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles here to the bullish side. Okay, came into this week, and I would say that the momentum to the upside has slowed dramatically since Friday. Okay, now we're seeing a lot in the way of overlapping price action. Again, if the definition of range here, right? You're seeing price attempt to go higher, being rejected, attempting to go lower, being rejected. So what is that telling us? It's telling us that the market is in some sort of range. Okay, looking at the DMI, also no pressure going on the positive or negative at the moment, with a falling ADX, again telling us that we are in some sort of range in this market. Moving on to the 30-minute, not the 39-minute, but the 30-minute. Okay, 30-minute chart. Again, similar view here. Okay, I cannot deny that there is sellers in the midst, right? There are sellers in the midst. What does this feel like? Well, this feels like more of a retracement, right? This feels like more of a retracement for the possibility of a move. Now, is it quite extended? Kind of bullish move that we've seen maybe in the overnight. Yeah. But we are coming into the US session. So it would not surprise me in the least if we came up to 7,000 again, and maybe we make another attempt at lower pricing. Okay. Looking at the ADX, well, the ADX has given us some indication that there is maybe some potential buying coming into this market, right? We are seeing that we have our ADX kind of sloping in the same direction as our positive. So that's hopeful. The volume delta is really not giving us indication on either side. It's quite balanced. So let's take a look here at the fixed range volume profile and see what we can maybe pull from that. It seems also quite neutral, but we'll confirm that. All right, there we are. We are technically above the value range from yesterday. Okay, so it'll be interesting how we open here, but assuming that we can stay above, well, that's giving us some hope that maybe the market could continue higher. We did break above, but that break above was not met with continued vigor on the bullish side. That was met with selling, and now it's kind of creeped below the 50% range of the current candle that's been developed here. If we fall into this area and have price maybe close below our 9 and our VWAP, well, that's giving me indication that maybe we come back and revisit. Again, this would be consistent with range kind of price action, that we would revisit 69.60, because we have been above 69.60 since the close. 69.60 being settlement price. Okay, so interesting level. Okay, right now, if we cannot maintain above this, I would say that that we have a possibility that price could rotate all the way back to settlement price if we cannot remain above, let's say, let's give it a 69.77. Okay, 69.77, 69.7650 is kind of my line in the sand here. If we cannot maintain above this, then I see that there's a good chance that we'll rotate all the way down to 69.60. Okay, so we'll go with more of a neutral rating, guys. I'm not really convinced necessarily at the moment of the bullish price action until we can get above 7,000. 7,000 is my line in the sand. If we cannot get above 7,000, I think there's still maybe some opportunities to the downside in this market. So we're going to go ahead and give it a neutral to bearish rating. If we start to break above 7,000, hold above 7,000, then maybe I could start to change my tune here. But I'm going to go with a neutral to bearish rating in the ES. Okay, taking a look here at the Dow before we make our one final pass across the various markets, just to kind of confirm our view. We're going to go ahead and remove some of our drawings here and take a look at the daily chart. Now, daily chart is showing maybe that there is a little bit of indecision here up at these highs. We're seeing wicks on both ends. I was quite impressed with his daily bullish candle that broke a range here at 50,000. Now, again, I think opposite of what we've been saying about these other markets, the equity markets, we're talking about maybe bearish zones, right, for these equity markets. On the YM, we're talking about bullish zones. Well, I would say the bullish zone that we need to remain above if we are going to continue to remain in this bullish stance, we need to see price remain above 50,000 because that's the new level that's been established. We've retested that level a couple of times already. There's a little bit of indecision as to which direction they want to take it, but the fact that we did close above is positive, okay, for the Dow. So I would say of the three markets, the Dow feels like the strongest of the three. Okay, moving on to the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart again, probably again a little bit of range of late here, right? A lot of overlapping candles. There's that 50,000 level that we've been talking about. You can see our DMI is also kind of in range, right? So again, not really giving us any indication as to which direction they want to take the market. Our momentum indicator also not telling us there's any momentum on either side. Taking a look at the 30-minute, okay, 30-minute chart here, more of the same. If I go ahead and open up the fixed range volume profile, we're probably going to get a pretty neutral kind of stance here. Let's confirm that. So we'll open up our fixed range volume profile for the start of the session yesterday, and kind of drag that to the close. All right, there we have it. Right, pretty neutral, although still above our value zone. Okay, so kind of in the same area that we are in the other equity market. So again, same kind of viewpoint. Although the settlement price is a lot higher than what we were seeing in the ES, settlement price seems like a reasonable target for this market at 50,200, assuming that we can get back inside value range. And then after that, we'll have to see, okay, because we did make an attempt here to go higher, and that just caused us to move into some sort of range. So are we building a little bit of, maybe bearish kind of price action here? I would say so, right? We're about to get, in the next couple of minutes, a bearish candle close here, okay? Taking a look at the initial balance ranges across the various sessions here. We'll go ahead and start with Asia quickly and see. Looking at Asia, relatively neutral, okay? We did manage to break above the initial balance range here for the Asia session, okay? So that's positive, right? So fair number of buyers in this market. Looking at London, London was a little bit more range bound. London not as convinced as Asia necessarily in this market. Okay, so what's that indicating? Well, again, we have buyers on one hand, neutral participants on the other. So again, we'll have to see what we get in the U.S. session. But right now, it would not surprise me if we were to maybe come back and revisit some of the lows back from Wednesday. Okay, if we start to break above 50,400, then maybe we have opportunities to retest some of these highs at 50,540. Okay, is kind of what I'm seeing here. So I'm going to go with the same kind of rating here. I'm seeing kind of neutral kind of price action here, a moment. not really seeing any direction at the moment in this market. Seeing some buying wicks maybe kind of developing here, but I need to be patient with this market. Need to see a participant show me the path in which they want to take it, and then at that point I can react. So I'm going to keep the neutral rating here in the Dow. All right, we'll take one final peek across all the markets on the 30-minute chart right now. Continued neutral kind of price action, maybe neutral to bearish, I would say, on the gold, silver, maybe same neutral. Okay, maybe a tad more bullish here, given the fact that we developed a little bit of a 3-bar pattern here, but it does feel quite range bound. Maybe there's a case to be made that we might be in some sort of pattern here, right? Maybe we're forming some sort of bottoming pattern here. Okay, just gonna finish this leg here, right? Maybe this is the pattern that's being developed here. I'm not sure. Okay, taking a look at the crude oil again, looking quite bearish in the crude, and then equity markets. I would say that maybe there is a little bit of bullish kind of price action of late, but again, really need to see in NASDAQ in particular get above 25,450. Market has opened, so we'll have to see whether we hold this current level and maybe rally from here, or whether we continue and rotate maybe back to some of these lows here. Okay, ES. Okay, same kind of thing. I'm going to be using this level that we have established here, the high end of value, maybe as a reference point, maybe for a continued opportunity to the upside. And then the Dow, also looking maybe to extend above the range. They've kind of taken a peek above here. Did not find what they're looking for as of yet. So we'll have to see how these candles close. So again, I'm going to stick with my neutral rating on the Dow here. Okay. So guys, I think with that, we'll go ahead and close off this session. As we close most sessions, kind of taking a peek here to see if there's any questions in the chat. I'm not seeing them. So we're going to go ahead and close off this session as we close most sessions. And that is trade well, trade safe, trade like a pro, be a market trader. Okay. Have an excellent day trading, guys. And we'll talk again tomorrow.